5 things you should never tell a man. Hey, I'm Antia Boyd with Magnetize Your Man, and together with my husband Brody, we've been helping thousands of successful women all over the world for the last 10 years to get a connected, committed, and long term relationship that they desire fast. So, really excited. So, let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's hop on over to number 5. Number 5, do you think she is cute? Now, this is like sort of a leading question because you kind of like already convict him of murder, so to say, if she says yes. So you can't really have an authentic, transparent, honest relationship with your man if you ask him questions that kind of set him up for failure. So do you think she's cute is also kind of, you're focusing on someone else and you're sending him the signal, handing him a resume that, you're paying attention to other women and that he should too. So that's always the thing, when you hand him a resume, you teach him how to treat you. And so you don't want him to think, oh, well, maybe you should pay attention to other women. But instead, it's like really thinking about yourself, right? Because remember, what you focus on expands. Also, men love secure and self confident women. Like a self confident woman would never say that. Do you think she is cute? And by the way, can you just tell me, like, what are you actually accomplishing with that question, right? Like, why would you even ask this question? Are you already in a bad mood and you're just like willing to add on to the mix? Or you know, do you, what's happening for you, right? Do you need like some approval from him? So then in that particular case, if that's really true, it's much more important to lead with feminine communication and actually say, you know what, like I feel anxiety or I feel confusion or I feel whatever you feel, and then actually describe why you feel this way. Really have an honest conversation as opposed to it being so indirect, right? Do you think she's cute? It's like just sort of feeling out, like, oh, is he like looking at other women or is he not interested in me anymore? Or, and sometimes, it's so funny. My husband, sometimes he used to tell me like, oh, do you need like some love or do you need some attention or do you need some approval? And I get to say yes. So you also get to advocate for what you desire in your relationships. And my husband always found it like extremely attractive because I was actually standing behind, was fortifying the queen inside of myself and I was standing behind my needs. So instead of like making excuses for them or have like shame shields, I'd be like, yeah, totally. I need to have some approval right now. I need to hear like a little, something that makes me feel good about myself, right? So keep that in mind. Number 4 is you're not strong enough. And so, yeah, you can almost not do anything worse, right? Like, because it's so emasculating. And you may say it directly or you may say it indirectly. So if you say it directly, then it's really like, oh, hey, I know you're not strong enough to handle this situation or whatever the case may be. Indirectly, you would sort of like see, let me help you solve this problem. Let me, I had like women that I worked with who filled out entire legal documents for a man, because they had like some background in that, or, I personally, I mean, I remember this even started for me, this dysfunction in college. Like I was dating a guy and I was writing his essay and then he didn't get like a great grade. And then he blamed me, but it was my own fault, right? Because, I attracted a man who like actually, you know, was like kind of looking for a mommy. And so a mommy that he can blame so he doesn't have to take responsibility. Yeah, and I also directly said, you're not strong enough. You can't write that your own essay, your own paper. And so later on in relationships, that translates into, you can't figure out whatever it is, you know what I mean? What to pay attention to when we buy the house, or you can figure out, um, how to take care of your health or whatever it is, right? So you become sort of this mother energy. And, Brody just did an incredible video, mother energy versus wifey energy. And while the mother energy is like so repelling, and even though it comes from a great place, and women are like, well, isn't that what men want? And does not make them happy? And, what if he's going through a tough time? But there's like something to be said about actually strengthening that masculine energy inside of a man, right? The different archetypes that Brody and I talk about all the time. Number 3 is, am I fat? Which is sort of a version of, do you think she's cute? Now this time it's towards you, but it's an insult. So you're actually saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about me? Again, it's very indirect, right? It's not actually that vulnerable. Like, again, it's much more, you're not actually really saying, hey, you know what? Like, I feel some insecurity, or I feel some anxiety, or I feel some sadness, or whatever you feel, right? Like, so you're not identifying that, but instead you're making like a pretty strong statement, am I fat? And and the thing is, like, in those moments a man can't win, because if he tells you, if you're already asking the question, right, what you focus on expands, then you already decided that there's something about you, there's something wrong about your figure, or you have too much weight somewhere, or whatever the case may be. And so when he says, no, not at all, because he actually loves you who you are, and he doesn't think through those lenses, or whatever it is, right? Or he actually genuinely thinks, no, you're not, you're looking for a distorted mirror, then you're not going to believe him for the reasons that I just mentioned, because you already decided that there's something wrong with you. Which, by the way, is really interesting. At the end of the day, it's just we have like those kind of wounds inside of ourselves, right? Of like not good enoughness. And then at that moment, you just project it onto your weight, onto your looks. But it could be also you could project it onto your intelligence, or onto your skill sets, or lack of skill sets, or whatever the case may be. So I always find that the women are going to project onto something. And so again, it's much more about like, okay, how can we become more secure with your insecurities, right? Now, of course, if you said, hey, you know what, happy to join you in the gym, right? Like, and help you to lose the weight, then you get like really upset because you feel insulted. So, he can't win, right? So that's like never really a good thing, like to set a man up for that, because he feels like he can't really be honest with you. He can't really feel like he can build trust with you. He can't really feel like he can build like an interdependent relationship with you, but he's walking on eggshells, and there's just like no winning. You know what I mean? And so that just oftentimes leads to so many disappointing experiences, because in that case, you, the woman, it's like not able to actually communicate what's really happening for you, right? Now, better thing would be, if you want to set them up for success, to say, hey, I have like 2 outfit choices, which one do you think I look more flattering in? And then you set him up for success, because he gets to be like, okay, this one, right? And so then you still ask him for his opinion, and you still get some of his approval, but he gets to actually win, and then he wants to help you more, as opposed to want to help you less in the future. Number 2 is, another man would know what to do. Now, you can also fill in, my ex would know what to do, the guy that I dated in the past would know what to do. Oh my God, so horrible, right? And so what that, of course, means is like, you don't know what you do. I don't trust you. And worst case scenario, I don't respect you. Which again, the worst messages that you can send to a man. It's really funny, because with Brody, and I think he just did a live stream. Actually, ironically, we didn't even know of the topic of each other's until today's live stream. I think he said something about things that you should tell a man, or something like that, right? So it's kind of funny. By the way, when you're married, when you have the right man by your side, or the right partner, you're kind of like sort of in the same orbit. You're orbiting around each other, and you almost have like similar sort of conversations in your head. And I think that's happened with Brody and me here in the last 24 hours. But another man would know what to do. That's a really tough one, because, you're really, it's really hard to come back from that, and also, like, why would you do that? Why would you be so stabby, right? is that, how would you feel if the man would tell you, you know what, like another woman would be more loving, or my ex, like she was, she was softer, or she was more feminine. How would it make you feel? Of course not good. And so then why would you do it with him? The joke, it's actually not really a joke. That saying that I have, if Brody can do it, if Brody cannot do it, nobody can, right? Because he's the man. And so, have something fun to say to your man that builds him up, but it's also really genuine. I mean, I truly believe that. You know what I mean? So also, when you have a man, like make sure you're you're connecting with the right man. You're letting the right man pursue you, and letting the right man protect you, and so that you can respect and look up to, right? Because even like after 11 years, I still find this saying so, so much to be true. And of course, part of it is also because I always see so many people learning from Brody. And I don't even mean like here on YouTube, but I mean also like in our friendship circle, like so many people reaching out, men looking up to Brody. So again, it's kind of like building him up, right? And number one is, when do we meet again? Okay. And this is like such a typical sort of first date, second date question. And it's tough, right? Because what I don't like about this question is that you're actually sort of like the pursuer, you're leading, instead of actually describing the kind of date that you had and how much you enjoyed it. And then let him say, hey, I feel this tension inside of myself. That's not what he's saying, but that's what he's feeling. And it's very encouraging and it's intriguing. And hey, when are you available again, right? Then he feels like masculine. When we meet again, it also kind of implies sort of, I didn't even really take in what today had in store for us, or how we connected, or how much we enjoyed each other. But it's already on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, right? So it's like it's not that attractive, and oftentimes, if a man wants to see you again, like he's gonna say it, so you don't need to ask for it. If you need to ask for it, you're already lowering your value, because what is he supposed to say, right? He's gonna say, oh, yeah, so maybe like next week or so, I'll call you, and I'm sure you're like, yeah, yeah, that sounds all like really familiar. You know what I mean? Um, so in general, don't really like this question like too much. Lead with something more queen like. Now, before I go into questions, that's why this is obviously a live stream and not a recorded video. If you haven't done so already, take our free Magnetize Your Man quiz to get the relationship you want. Click on the link in our bio, the comments, or the description below, or you can just hop on over to magnetizeyourman.com. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and see what's happening in the comment section. Okay, so Jenna said, I love your channel. Jill said, oh, Diana, I hope you figured out. Anyone else having a hard time hearing? Sounds like everyone else can hear it. All right, so Jill said, all of these videos, advice have helped me tremendously. Thank you so much. I've learned so much, still learning. I'm still single-ish, but way more confident in setting boundaries and determining what I want and need to be continued. Still watching and learning. Yeah, and that's of course always true, right? It's like, yeah. Thank you, Tumbleweed. Yeah, like I'm sure that it's totally audible because we did a whole test before that. But Jill, there's gonna be like steps, right? And so in those steps, like you actually like build self-confidence more and more, but it's like intrinsically, so it's actually like more authentic, right? And so that's why it's sometimes a little slower, because you actually build on the foundation. When we build a foundation, it's not quite there yet. You have all the momentum and you see all the results. but you have like sort of a foundation. So you know that once it's ready, when it's go time, Jill, you have such a foundation built of like self trust. You know how to set boundaries, you know how to honor yourself, you know how to express your needs confidently and also clearly. And that's going to go um, a long way. Alrighty. So if there's not any more questions, then let's see here. Oh, it's actually, the link is magnetizeyourman.com/YTL. I think it's for YouTube Live. And, but in any case, if you have any other questions, you can just post them below as well. And we're also happy to answer them after this live stream ends. Brittany just said, thank you for your lovely teaching. Hold on, Brittany. Now my boundaries and standards are built, and sometimes my fiance says my boundaries and standards are too high, but I believe they are good. And that's interesting. It's interesting when a man says that, right? It's like, why? Like my husband never say something like that. I never think that your boundaries can be too high unless he means walls. Now, walls are different than boundaries, right? Because walls are meaning, I can't get close to you. I can't feel emotionally intimate with you. I can't feel close to you. I feel like you're not really opening your heart to me. You're kind of like, protecting yourself, right? So I wonder if he means walls versus boundaries. Sometimes there's just a little bit of a language distinction, so to say. And standards, hey, I believe in high standards. I remember back in the day when I was filming lots of podcast interviews, and I was interviewed all the time. Like, that was my little 2-year-old. So when that happened, I said, so do you have one more advice, for the audience and for the listeners? And I said, keep your standards high, because I saw just so many dating coaches, and they were just like coaching on, you have to be willing to compromise, and, you have to be willing to go with someone that's not completely physically your type. But, here I am, saying, I wanted a man who's like tall, dark hair, blue eyes. But I mean, frankly, it was like because I had a vision. So it wasn't just like through my head, right? It wasn't just like logic. But I do believe to keep your standards high, because I do believe that you actually get it, and I have like another friend, she just got married a couple months ago after just knowing her husband for 90 days. And they have just an incredible relationship, and she always had high standards. So I really believe in the high standards. Sometimes it can just be like, somebody's like afraid, maybe your fiance is afraid that you're a little bit too, I don't know, high maintenance or whatever, you know what I mean? But it also helps a man to step more into his king as well. So I think it's good. And yeah, and it could be also projection too, right? Because you're like, sometimes his walls up very high, and we've been together for 10 years, but honestly, yeah, totally, So, okay. Got it, Jill. Got it. Okay, yeah. All right. So, but I hope that's helpful for you, Brittany, and to just get a little bit of feedback. And yeah, that's what I figured, Jill, because I see that you're coming from Facebook. So, I get that. I get that visibility piece. You know what I mean? But so yeah. In any case, like I love that you make the progress that you need to make, Jill. And in general, what I always see with my women in my high ticket programs, but also in our memberships too, is just simply really this invitation to focus on yourself. So that's why I loved what Brittany said. And yeah, obviously, Jill, right now I'm not putting your comment on the screen, because obviously you just said you don't want the guy that you're dating see that you watch this. So that's why I don't bring it on the screen right now. But but the piece is that it's about focusing on yourself, like learning how to actually advocate for yourself, right? Like really identifying, what's happening, what you don't want to be called selfish, or you don't want to be called a bitch, or you don't want to be called arrogant, or you don't want to be called fill in the blank. And so whatever that is, that gets to be your work, right? Because otherwise you're just going to walk on eggshells. And then every time when you actually want to step into your power, you really can't, because it always carries a flavor of like this either arrogance, or that you're bitch, or that you're, selfish or whatever, right? Because it always carries that with us. So that's what keeps us sort of in that safety zone, you know what I mean? In that comfort zone. And that's why you keep attracting the same kind of man, or the same kind of energy, or the same kind of dynamic in dating as well, right? So, all right, ladies, this was fun. So let me know also if you want me to teach on another topic, because I do this live streams more often. Let me know as well. And other than that, have a beautiful rest of your day. Sending you lots of love. Mwah! And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.